Okay, episode 2. We're dubbing this one the Bromance. Take 1.
Hey. It's Justin Konikow from the Prime REC Experience here with my guest, Jas Takhar.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
From the REC team, the Real Estate Center in...
But I think we're going to go back and forth, though, right? We're going to...
Yeah, 100%.
For this episode.
We're going to break it down.
Yeah.
It's Jas and Justin's TreeHouse. Like,
I like that.
We would do this if you weren't here. So, I apologize if we get off track on a couple topics, but what we're going to do is we'll riff, and then we're going to do an open Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, things that you're curious about, we'll bounce back and forth, whether it's for him, for myself. We'll have some fun. So Jas, maybe you want to give a little bit of an introduction as to who you are for those who don't know you.
Thanks for that, Justin. I have a business partner, as I mentioned earlier. Simos is in the back. Say hi, Simos. We've been together for coming up to about 15 years, and we started REC, which stands for Real Estate Center. We have a team of 32 realtors that cover the Greater Toronto Area, essentially from Durham to Burlington, Newmarket down to the lake. We 15 years. We help 700 buyers, sellers, and investors every year. And I don't tell you this to impress you, more to impress upon you that we have a lot of data now. We're placed number 2 in Canada for all Royal LePage out of 18,000. Our team is, and then we have 8 support staff that really help make Simos and us who we are, including our director of sales. She's walking around here, Laura Stewart. And then we have a media team that consists of a videographer, graphic designer, copywriter, and a part-time videographer, just to make sure we get as much content as we possibly can out to the marketplace on educating people on real estate, entrepreneurship, and leadership. We started off with real estate with the podcast and all the content we were doing, but after about 17, 18 episodes, I was like, how many times can you tell people that you need a home inspection or you should be speaking with a mortgage broker? All important stuff, but I wanted to add a little bit more to it. And so we started to add some entrepreneurship topics because I actually see a huge similarity between entrepreneurs and real estate purchasers, specifically investors. And I know you see it all the time as well, Justin, that it really just comes down to taking action. It's getting educated first and then actually throwing your hat over the fence. Do you see that a lot yourself, or?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think, one thing I've told to some people privately in the room, some of the people that were here speaking, was this group isn't like a real estate networking event per se, right? A lot of times you go to open networking events and it could be anybody walking in the door. You don't know if they're there to literally just sidle up next to you and try and take some of your money and go do something crazy, and they have no basis for what they're talking about. You have a lot of high-level investors in the room, people that operate businesses in different capacities that kill it at what they do. There's people in this room that I would trust with very important parts of my life that, like Sasha was saying, I might not know anything about what they do, but it's like going to a mechanic and saying, fix my brakes. I don't care what kind of brakes he uses. I want to know that my car's safe, and I want to know that I'm getting a good price, all in all. So I look at real estate investing the same way, where you spend a large portion of your career, whether you're on the brokerage side of it or the investing side, learning, right? And then you get to a point, and everybody knows about these points in their lives where there's another level, right? You're like, you're looking at the first step, and then you're like, but how did that guy get there? Go ask him. Go talk to that person, right? And create a community around you that inspires you to kind of get to that next level. And you'll be very surprised that some of the people will look at you and say, you're putting the same effort into that one deal that you can be putting into 23 doors or this project or this land development deal, right? And I think Jas, he's being very humble, has interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk, Scott McGillivray, Ryan Serhant, some monstrous people that we have some mutual connections with, where like you reach out. I'm going to see Ryan next week to talk to him about what's happening in New York and bring that data back here. Because I think it's important to widen your network, right?
A lot of people think you're crazy to go to New York. Yeah. Like, what are you doing that for?
They said I'm crazy. Remember where'd Sasha go? Every time Sasha gets crazy.
So what made you want to go to New York and sit down with, say, Ryan Serhant? Because you're not going to be doing business in New York right now. But a lot of people would say, well, why are you flying out and spending money? But I mean, I have a feeling I know what it is. It's the same reason why we all went out and sat down with the Garys and, Scott McGilvery. Scott has more of a real estate tie to it, but I mean, he's been doing this for a very long time. His business partner, Michael Saraceni, these guys have been doing it for a very long time. Success leaves clues. Like, we can see what they've done very, very well and almost just reverse engineer what they've done well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I'll answer the first question of why I'm going out there. There's two reasons. One is his track record. Look at the actual amount of units he sold. Jas actually gave me the initial connection last year when I met him the first time. And I went down and I chatted with him about my business, the struggles, the good, the bad. Not everything's all peaches and roses, right? Everybody struggles. And I said, here's the green, yellow, red light philosophy that I run my business by. I'll write down all the things that I do. What's green that I absolutely love doing? A lot of it is the content and information I put out there for you guys who watch all my 500 videos every single night. The yellow stuff is stuff I don't necessarily want to do, but you got to do the work to do the things that you want to do, right? There's a certain amount of work you have to do to earn the green, and then there's the red, which is the things you don't want to be doing and you should outsource. So I went over that initially with Ryan last year. He gave me a list of to-dos. We run very similar teams. You wouldn't think that in New York City and London, Ontario, but we operate Lake Erie to Lake Huron, Woodstock to Sarnia. I have a good team. We have 15 people on our team comprised of agents and media, and we have people in every market. So when people call us and need something in St. Thomas, we have somebody that is my Navy SEAL specialist in St. Thomas. We have people in Grand Bend, Woodstock, London. We have specialists everywhere. Ryan operates the exact same way with the boroughs. So he has a team of 60 that he runs in very different areas, but he laughed when I was making the comparison. I'm like, oh, we do the same business. And if you simplify it, it is, right? The last piece to that is accountability. So working with people or creating a community where if I tell Grant that I'm going to do something and the next time I see him, I didn't do it, I'm going to be embarrassed, right? So part of that is literally just checking in with him and saying, hey man, this is what we did and this is all the amazing things that happened because of it. Here's what didn't work. What should we do next year? And then share with him what we see here because New York is a depressed market right now and we've been through that here, right?
What have you seen with all the content you're producing? Because I think it's safe to say that between myself and yourself, we probably produce the most real estate content, like really right across the country, from like a realtor and a team perspective. What are you starting to see and what made you start doing it?
One is I like being different. We had the L-Star Gala last night and it was a black tie optional. I did not wear a black suit just because I like doing things differently. And when I came into the real estate industry, I found everybody was doing the exact same thing. My old brokerage said, cold call 200 people, tell them you're in real estate, tell them do they know anybody buying to sell.
Yeah.
I did it to 2 people and they literally chirped me.
The training I got from my sales trainer, just remind me, sorry to cut you off, was don't start at the A or the Z, like start at M. So I don't know what happened there with the music, but start at M because no one makes it into the middle of the alphabet. That was the training that I received when I first got into the business. When it comes to cold calling,
I think they want you to start dancing.
Yeah. That's later on.
Okay, we're good.
That's later on.
That's after. Yeah, it's early. I brought the RSC team down during the daytime because at nighttime it's a different story.
For sure.
So content. It was really, how could I be of service to my community, right? Like the founding principle of my brokerage is serving others above ourselves. That's what we founded our brokerage on. That's our North Star. And I thought, I'm literally going through a contract explaining to a client, they ask me something or tell me, oh, I never heard that clause explained that way, right? I'll give you a really easy one, and it's residency. So there's a little clause in the agreement of purchase and sale, I think it's number 9, that stipulates that if the seller's not a Canadian resident, they have to disclose it to you. Or they have to disclose it to their agent. Very important because if you buy an investment property specifically and they're not a Canadian resident and they flee the country, guess who pays their capital gains tax? The buyer. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know that. So it's very important to be working with professionals, especially, even if you do a private deal, make sure you're working with a lawyer that understands real estate law and you're not buying something from a non-resident and they got to pay $100,000 capital gains and they take off because they're coming after you. So, as I started doing it, I started getting messages and mandates for stuff simply because somebody heard something and said, yeah, that saved me in a negotiation. And I was like, oh, okay. I saw a little seed and it kind of became a thing on its own where, I realized that I was connecting people in the community through the content and really trying to do it and then take myself out of it, even though it's my stupid face on it every single day.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to be a platform for the community because I think there's some pretty amazing people that I know that, now I get to expose them to our audience in various ways, such as Jas, right here, right now.
Well, I think it's important because back 15, 20 years ago when we didn't have access to the YouTubes and podcasts, the only really way to get your information out was TV and radio. And for an average person like you and I, at that time, it's very expensive, right? If there's anyone in business, small business, medium business, large business, corporation, you should really strongly consider producing content because you can get direct to consumer. And so even while I've been sitting here and in between breaks, I think I've had like 7 direct messages in Instagram just wanting to do coffees with myself, my business partner, the team, wanting to sit down with us because they know that we're actually producing content, giving all the value up front. Like we wrote a book called Real Estate Intelligence. I'm sure some people in this room already have it. It's free. We actually have a section. It's all things buying, selling, and investing. But we have a chapter that explains and teaches you how to sell your own home. And most people look at us and say, like, what are you doing? That's how you make money. But we would rather have an educated buyer, seller, or investor come to us. It just makes our job a little bit easier now because they're already educated, especially through our own educational system. Does that make sense as well?
It makes total sense. I think the industry as a whole, we're trying to change it from the inside with stuff like this because forever you think real estate agent, you think, well, all you really have is the sold data, which may have been the fact in the past, right? Like real estate used to be, I'd come to your house with a booklet and show you what's on the MLS and you can pick it and maybe I show you a property that I get more commission on, maybe I don't, right? That's a scarcity mindset. We've gone through so many iterations of technology and mark my words, in the next 2 years, you're gonna be able to go online and see sold data just as quickly as I can. It is coming. It's already pretty much here.
Yeah.
Agents have been fighting it left, right, and center for a long time. I've been fighting for it because I actually think the consumer is more well equipped to have the same information that we do because then I don't have to go through the education process of discussing why your house is worth X. Because if you go on Zillow and you just type in your address and it pumps out a number, you don't know the metrics behind that. You don't understand that Zillow's a marketing company and they're selling you as a lead to agents. Zillow's in the business of making money off agents. So, we would rather just give all the information up front, just develop relationships, be able to go fishing with the people that we do work with and just talk about life, let the real estate transaction be a part of it because that's just business and things will happen because of it. It's everything outside of real estate is what we find generates the actual real estate because then there's a level of trust. Like a lot of you in this room might not actually know me or Jas, and it's gonna get to the point where you know us and know that we don't necessarily need that transaction that we're telling you to do to cover our rent, that we're gonna be okay. And when you're working that dynamic, it's very different than the person that's cold calling 500 people using a script to get some, widow to sell her house way under market value and then flip that paper to somebody else. That stuff, I don't touch it. This is why I do these types of events. This is why we've delineated our brokerage to doing good, honest, ethical business in the long run.
And we have more fun doing this.
100%.